Welcome to the Moving to Florida show. I am your host, Judson Osmond, along with co-host Mohit Badlani, and we've got a great guest for you today, coming to tell us all about Florida's beautiful Emerald Coast. Our guest is a retired Air Force colonel who now sails the Florida Emerald Coast from Pensacola to Panama City Beach. She holds multiple real estate designations, including the Military Relocation Professional certification, the Resort and Second Home Property Specialist designation, and the Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist designation, among many more. Today, she's joining us on the Moving to Florida show to tell us all about Florida's Emerald Coast. Welcome, Miss Vicky Leos.
Thank you. Thank you, Judson. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, well, we're so happy to have you come on and tell us all about the beautiful Emerald Coast. But before we dive into the cool blue waters, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. Hi. Thank you. Yeah, it was great to be on the show. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I'm a retired Air Force colonel, and I've been in real estate now for about 5 years. I love my new career. It gives me the opportunity to serve once again, just in a different capacity. And I think I get just as much joy in serving as a real estate agent as I did in serving as a military member. So when you do good things for other people, it makes you feel good. So
Absolutely.
I think I found the right career for me post-military.
So basically, you serve what is called Florida's Emerald Coast, and I know from our discussions beforehand, that's kind of running from Pensacola to Panama City Beach, and I guess all things in between. So, tell us a little bit about that market.
Yeah, again, it's an informal name for our area. It's about 104, 105 miles of just beautiful beaches, white sandy beaches. And blue or green, I would say green emerald waters. And so if you take the market, it's a big market. It seems like a lot, 106 miles of beachfront, but there's two distinct markets, I would say. One is your second home buyers, your investors, your condominium buyers, vacation home. And the other one, which is, catered more towards tourists. And the other one is more your permanent presence, the locals that live here. And our permanent presence is highly impacted by a military footprint. We have, 5, 6 major bases here: Navy, Marines, Army, Air Force Reserve bases. We have incredible numbers of military personnel stationed here. And so that brings the family, and that's that big presence on that second market that I'm talking about, distinct market, which is the primary residence versus your more touristy driven market for second homes and investment homes.
I'm guessing since you were in the military, are you still in reserve, or you've retired?
No, I'm completely retired. However, that doesn't mean you don't keep your network of coworkers that you've known along the years, both retirees and still active duty. I still have a great network of reservists that I know because I did 15 years as a full-time reservist, and so therefore I have my foot in one side on the active duty, and the other side I had that reserve network. So no. I'm retired, but in terms of networking, it definitely covers the whole spectrum of the military.
Is that why you live in that Emerald City area? Oh, Emerald City, Emerald Coast area?
Yes, actually, yes and no. I mean, it's really interesting. I retired out of Korea, and I was headed back to the D.C. area where we had a home in Virginia. And my daughter, who also joined the Air Force Reserve, was assigned here to the Emerald Coast, to Hurlburt Field. And I had just retired, like I said, out of Korea. We were on our way back home. We decided to come here and help her get settled. And we never made it back to Virginia. We sold our home in Virginia, and we ended up staying here, investing. I actually started getting my license because my plan was to just flip homes because I really loved real estate so much. And once I started with Keller Williams, it was I just felt this is my career. Like I said, I enjoy serving, and I feel like I provide, this God-given talent of knowledge and being able to research and do things smartly. And I like to be able to share that with other people. So again, going back on my side here a little bit, but yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's great. Well, I think as we said, or as you said, there's kind of two distinct markets. You've got the people that live there, the locals, and then you've got the people that are looking at the area as second home, vacation, that type of stuff. So I think primarily our audience is going to be people that are really looking to move to Florida full time. So maybe we can address that first. And I think we've got so much to talk about here. We'll probably maybe have you back for a part two, or we'll end up splitting this up into a couple of different episodes, which will be fine. But let's kind of focus on, what it's like to live local on the Emerald Coast. Starting, maybe we'll kind of go geographically. Pensacola is going to be kind of the first, to me, that's the first city, the easternmost city, or excuse me, westernmost city in Florida. Is that correct?
That's correct. But borders up with Mobile, Alabama, really close. It's growing so fast as well. Pensacola, so much like anything along the Emerald Coast, anything north of Highway 98 is that primary residential local real estate market. And Pensacola is growing just like anywhere else. Pensacola is probably one of the few places where you actually have room to grow. And it is a bigger city, it's more urban. As you head back east, you're going to run into areas where they're starting to feel the pinch of there's not enough land to build anymore. So you see a lot of tear down older homes and, building these beautiful, great, residential homes. And that going through Navarre. Navarre was never really known as a city, but it's, it's part of Santa Rosa County there. And it's grown tremendously. Again, they're out of space. Builders are backlogged 8 months to build.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
they have such a demand right now. There's such a huge demand and so little inventory. And again, very little space to grow in. And so they're having to go back to tearing down some older lots, or even, you're taking wetlands and, having to build up in order to be able to build a house in there. Moving further east, you got Fort Walton Beach. Same kind of scenario. Fort Walton Beach was an older, coastal little town, and now it's just fully occupied, 100%. A lot of residential and nowhere to go. We have no room to grow. We're surrounded by those military bases, and that kind of, crunches down on the space. So the property values have gone up. I mean, incredible. Like the entire Emerald Coast. And I wanted to say, I know Fort Walton Beach during the crash, they had a ton of foreclosures. Right now, you're lucky if you get 60 foreclosures across the entire Emerald Coast. If you find any, it's a rarity.
Rare, yeah.
Yeah. And even foreclosures are selling at asking price. The banks aren't stupid. They know they can get what they want. It's a very hot market, both residential and non-residential. And then here we go. I'm going moving east and a little bit north. You have Crestview, which was one of the fastest growing cities in Florida, was my understanding a couple of years ago. And that had all to do with the fact that we had all this military folks coming here. And like I said, very little space and very little on the market. Our inventory's been low this year. I think right now, I was just looking, I think we had 2,700 listings. I've never seen anything under 37. And that was when we thought we were critical. I don't know what that is now. Yeah. Now it's an emergency. But anyway, Crestview is growing. It's one area where you do have a lot of growth. It's up a little bit further north of the coastline, but it's up on the, along Interstate 10, I-10. And just south of Crestview, you have Niceville that sits at the north of the bay. Niceville has some of the best schooling in the state. And so you'll see the values of homes appreciate so much quicker and higher in Niceville area because of that,
yes.
Because of school. And the demand is so high that it's kept the pricing of homes here almost at the level as Destin. Not quite, but, pretty close. And we're only 15 minutes across the bridge, the toll bridge, to get to the beaches in Destin. So it's a very great location here in Niceville. And then if you go further east again, we're going towards Freeport on the north side of 98 again. And then, of course, just south of the bay, you have Destin, which most of it is going to be more tending towards the second home buyer more so than the residential. There are some really nice, subdivisions, but they're all north of 98. The city of Destin is very strict on not having vacation rentals or Airbnb or VRBOs anywhere north of 98, and they go after people that are actually trying to do that in their residences. So it's a very small residential area. Again, no land to grow because you're surrounded by water. And then that'll just take us down to Santa Rosa Beach, which is surrounded by state parks and water. So again, land is at a premium. And the growth that we see is very close to zero lot lines, something incredible. If you go along the area that's known as 30A, that's the county road 30A, where you have seaside, watercolor, all those new developments and subdivisions. The price, it's interesting, the prices tend to go up if you start on 30A West and move eastward. The prices tend to go up, extremely high when you hit Ellis Beach and then Rosemary Beach. And then they start to come down again as you head to Panama City Beach. So, but there's a mix, interestingly, there's a mix of residential along highway or County Road 30A. There's a mix of residential and second home market there. But I don't know, I think I've covered the entire spectrum, I think, from Pensacola to Panama City Beach. But again, the residential, you focus everything that's north of 98 and very limited inventory, very much in high demand and very pricey. It's getting pricey.
I think we're seeing that across the state too with low inventory.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you. If someone was to say, I want to move, become a full-time Florida resident, and I want to be somewhere along the Emerald Coast, I want to be in a single-family home and be as close to the beach as I can, and I have a $300,000 budget. How close to the beach do you think they could get, and what city or what area should they look for?
Okay, so I think it depends more if you're looking at a single family residence, maybe a 3-2 in the 300s. You're going to probably be more like 15 to 20 minutes away or further up into Crestview. The 300s here in the north, on the north side of the bay, if you look at the area, if you look at the north side of the bay, Fort Walton Beach would be one area where you might be able to find some still at 300s, decent size. Niceville would have a handful, but mostly I would say Crestview and Freeport are the two areas where 300,000 will buy you. And it'll get you, again, you just cross the bridge 15 minutes straight onto Crystal Beach, for example, from Niceville. And that's a public beach access. And Freeport, you would come down to 30A. Might be more like 20 minutes. It's a little bit further away, sits back further north. And then, like I said, Crestview, which is now you're getting into like a 45-minute drive to the beach.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, it's good to know though that it's possible to get that 3-2 single family home, maybe around 300,000, still only be 20 minutes from the beach. That's pretty amazing.
Right. It is. People don't realize how lucky we really are over here. It's just incredibly nice. We don't have to deal with the traffic. We just cross the bridge, go to the beach, and come back and not worry about all the traffic in Destin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even here, Mo and I are in Central Florida, and for us, it's an hour, minimum of an hour to get to the beach, and we still do that as a day trip. I mean, it's worth it. So, 20 minutes, yeah, I would be there all the time.
20 minutes would be scary for us. That's it. Who's working today? No one's working today. Everyone's at the beach.
Well, I have to correct myself a little bit because it won't take you 15 minutes on a Saturday between, Memorial Day weekend and probably August 15th. You really don't want to go over that bridge on a Saturday afternoon because you'll never make it over. It'll take 2 hours just to cross the bridge. So,
makes sense. Well, that's the beauty, that's the beauty of living in the area is, Tuesday after work, you can go check it out or,
or go for lunch on the beach and yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Maybe this is a little bit more of a personal question, but of all of these beaches and beach towns we've talked about, what's your favorite beach to visit?
My favorite to visit. I know this is going to sound weird. I like to go to Navarre Beach, and that's a ways from here. It's not across the bridge as easily. Navarre Beach is not as crowded, and Navarre Beach itself is surrounded both on the east side and on the west side by a state park. And so you have a lot of natural settings, and then on the north side we have the Santa Rosa Sound, so you're completely surrounded by white sands everywhere you look, and it's so much less crowded than, for example, Destin or whatever. I think for me, I like it because it's just naturally beautiful, and there's not that mob of people and umbrellas on the beach. You can go down to the state park, and the same go. Henderson Park, for example, gets really crowded in that because it's right smack in the middle of Destin, and so it's not quite the same. But Navarre Beach.
Now, if I did want to stay on the beach, I want to be as close as possible. I don't want to be 15 minutes down the road. I don't want to be 20 minutes. I want to be on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I want to stay around the $300,000 to $400,000. And I don't want to be single family. I could be a condo as well. I mean, what are my chances of finding something like that?
You can find something. It may not be what you're looking for.
Okay.
If you're on the beach, a $300,000 to $400,000 budget is going to buy you possibly a 1-bedroom plus bunk room.
Okay.
Unless you go further east towards Panama City Beach, you can certainly find some 2 bedrooms, really like right, not on the beach, but pretty close, where you're just across the street or something like that. At least you get some kind of a view. You certainly have access to the beaches in Panama City Beach, but on looking, like I'm straight looking down, you're going to get a 1-bedroom.
Right. Yeah, a studio.
Yeah. I just wanted to have a realistic, realistic view of what that looks like. So going back to condos, are you seeing more sales in condos versus single family homes in the area you serve, or is it a mix?
It's a mix. I would say our highest month for sales for condos is June and then July. And that's basically because that's the peak season. They say we get about 4 million visitors in our area per year. And so, think about it. The odds of you selling condos are probably going to be sometime in June or July. Throughout the year, I think the residential probably takes precedence over your condos. I sell quite a few condos. I love it. I love selling condos. They're a little bit less emotional. They're more business-like, and it's much easier sometimes to make decisions on that because it's all the numbers. That's what investors are looking for is, what's my return on my investment? Or the person buying is saying, is it going to pay my mortgage? And so that's the driving factor. And so condos, I would say, again, June and July are our peak months to sell. And right now, residential, I'll be honest, I think the reason, one, we have low inventory. There's not a lot of people come here and just don't want to move. And they love their home and they don't want to sell. But we're seeing a lot of people that are looking to retire in a couple of years, and they're actually buying now because the interest rates, as we all know, are at an all-time low of like a 2.25 for some. The VA, for example, the VA, if they have excellent credit, they can get a loan, a 30-year loan fixed rate for 2.25, and there's no cap on the 100% financing. So we've seen an increase from that perspective. I've seen people that aren't ready to live here and are already buying now.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
getting ahead of the game over there.
Right, and I don't mind it. Bring them down all day long.
Now, what about hurricanes? Do you guys? We've already done episodes on hurricanes before. We've kind of addressed that. It happens from time to time. But do you see people being afraid to live on the coast due to the threat of hurricanes?
Not really, to be honest, Tom. I think it's interesting that you say that. Hurricane Michael is the last one that really hit us here hard, and that hit Panama City. Panama City Beach barely got a couple of shingles and a couple of trailers or something. I'm not saying it's not important, but it barely swept through Panama City Beach, and all the condos were fine. I went out there 2-3 days after the hurricane, and the condo buildings looked fine. They missed just a couple shingles here and there and all that. So I think maybe that put our guard down around this area, and we just, I don't know. A lot of the condos are in big towers, and it's concrete towers, so I think people are more comfortable than stick, frame, wooden frame buildings on the beach. I think that's probably why we don't see that kind of concern, perhaps. I mean, there's questions. They always ask you what happens in a hurricane. Do we have hurricane shutters? Do you have impact windows? That's a big deal nowadays, because a lot of these condominiums, older condominium buildings, the windows and the sliding doors were not impact, and they are, the code now requires them. So if anybody's there's a certain thing that you have to change. You can't just change one window here this year, another window next year. It's my understanding you have to do them all or none. You're grandfathered for right now, but you need to get them done. When you do them, you got to do them all. You can't just do one window at a time.
Going from hurricanes to what's going on currently in the with COVID and everything, how has that affected your market?
Well, I think COVID slowed down things only initially while we were shut down, especially while the governor had shut down all the rentals. We had no rentals going. So, I mean, I was still doing follow-up, touching, making phone calls, talking to people, but I wasn't actively showing anything because kind of came to a halt. I think everybody kind of was like, let's wait and see what happens. Right. And as soon as the entire United States started to open, and then we went back to business as usual, our rentals went back by Memorial Day weekend. We were already, renting everything back again. So I would say COVID put a dent in the market, the month of April pretty much, and a little bit of May. But after that,
it came back strong.
It came out stronger than ever. I'll be honest. I am probably, I would venture to say 4 to 5 times busier not busier, just more productive actually than I ever was any summer when I'm busy. Now, this is just incredibly crazy. I mean, even this morning I just had, I'm about to place, 3 offers in one day.
Yeah, there's a lot of people moving to Florida, right?
Oh my gosh, there is.
Yes, we have seen the very same thing in our business here in Central Florida.
Yeah, I think we venture to say that, and we have seen, and I have to correct myself again. We're going back to the second home market, not so much the primary. We have seen a lot of people retiring out of northern areas, looking to sell everything there and come here, and we've also seen a lot of people like from Chicago, which wasn't the norm, coming down here and buying out everything they could find because they want an option other than the big city. And there, for a while there, I didn't happen to get any of those, but I heard there was quite a few cash investors coming down to 30A from Chicago. So I do see them from other areas, but I didn't get any of those cash buyers in Chicago.
I'm telling you, Chicagoans get tired of the snow real quick.
Yeah.
Mo is from Chicago, so yeah, he can speak with experience there.
But I think it was more the COVID. Right after COVID, I think we picked up with before because of COVID, because people said, if I'm going to be locked up, lock me up in Florida. Where I could go out and play golf.
Very true.
I can go out and play golf. I play golf every day. My handicap dropped from a 25 to an 18 during that COVID. Whatever it was that we did.
Yeah, well, hey, that brings up a great topic. A lot of people do think of Florida and they think of golf. Are you an avid golfer? It sounds like, if you're doing it every day.
I am. No, I wish I had the time. Like I said, this summer
you've been very busy. Yes.
Oh my God, incredible. So probably my handicap just bounced back to 25. I'm sure if I go out today, but yeah, there's great number of courses. I can't even think. We have in Destin alone, we have 3, 4 plus 3 in Sandestin, 7, 10 off the top of my head between Niceville and Destin alone. We have about 10 golf courses. Freeport has one. Well, not Freeport, but Defuniak has one. Crestview. There's one in Navarre, plus the two bases. Yeah, we've got quite a few golf courses actually. In that 100-mile span, I would say we probably have a good 20 golf courses.
That's a lot of places to go hit a ball around.
A lot of options, a lot of prices. Yeah. And most of them are public. As far as I know, I don't think there's any that are restricted to members only that I know of. Because I've played in a lot of them, and they're definitely not restricted to members only.
Very good. Well, so we've talked about a lot of different areas along the Emerald Coast, but I know we mentioned Panama City and Panama City Beach when we were talking about Hurricane Michael. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about Panama City Beach? To be honest, I'm not very familiar with it other than the name.
Well, Panama City Beach really starts where I guess 30A ends on the east side. Rosemary Beach, if you come back onto Highway 98 and you go east, you're going to run into what is basically the old Panama City Beach. And Panama City Beach, the beaches are all public. And starting on the western side of the beach, there's very few condominiums. I'm trying to think if I can think of how many there are. There's like maybe one or two buildings out there that have condos or townhomes on the beach. But it's mostly a lot of scattered little homes, older homes from the 50s. So a lot of that's being torn down and rebuilt. That's the one area where trailers were grandfathered in. So it's a little mix of everything in that area. And then the closer you get to what's the actual city part of Panama City Beach, it's just changed tremendously. It's my understanding. I haven't seen it before, but now they have huge shopping center. Pier Park has a lot of family entertainment. I think there's a big effort in Panama City Beach to change their entire perspective of a spring break location to more of a family location, if you will, family friendly. They've put a lot of measures in place to kind of control a little bit that ugliness of the spring breaker mentality. And so once you're in that area, you're going to see you have quite a few towers going out of high density condominiums. But the beauty of that is of all of Panama City Beach is that they're all, again, public beaches. And so it's very different. It's got a main strip where you're going to have most of the restaurants and places to dine and a lot of family entertainment and just very different. It's different, very different. I guess every section of our Emerald Coast is very unique and different. And like I said, Panama City Beach is more geared towards that second market, and also a lot of retirees. There's a market there for retirees.
Okay, very good. Mo, did you have something?
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about Destin, Florida. I know a lot of people. We get tons of visitors. I know to Destin, Florida. What's so special about Destin, Florida?
Well, Destin is unique in so many ways. Again, I think the number one attraction's always been obviously the white sandy beaches and the emerald waters. But there's an area called Crab Island. It used to be an actual island, and all that was on it was crabs. And so I guess that's why they called it Crab Island. This was back in the early 1900s, right? And I think in 1921, a hurricane came in and knocked down that sand island, because that's all it was just sand, knocked down the sand. And so the water now is only waist deep. You're standing on Crab Island, and it sits in the middle of it's called the pass. It's where the water from the bay comes out to the Gulf. That's the East Pass, and right in the middle of it, you're surrounded. All of a sudden, if you're not careful, you might drop down, and you're like, ooh, 20, 50 feet dig, versus water, to your waist. And so we're very well known for that Crab Island. People come out with their boats. They anchor down on the island and just hang out in the water. It's not a beach. It's in the water. So everybody hangs out in the water. And that's one of the things. It also has that harbor that has all those, great restaurants, great boardwalk to go walk and just have fun with the kids or just go have drinks. You have Margaritaville there. You have AJ's, which is the oldest, one of the oldest establishments here. I think it's the first one to serve oysters, raw oysters. And I remember 25, 30 years ago when I was down in this area as a young lieutenant in the Air Force, I remember AJ's, and that's all there was there was that oyster bar, and it was AJ's. Just, I don't know, just very cool. And of course, the beaches, like I said, and all the entertainment. And there's plenty of just restaurants everywhere and bars and things to do, family events or family entertainment, game centers, go-karts, all that stuff. So it's very geared toward the tourist attractions, I guess.
Well, that seems like a good transition into that second home, condo investment, vacation home, segment that we mentioned earlier, and we've kind of, I think, flirted with it all along the way through as we've been talking for the last 30 minutes or so. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that segment of the market, these condos and vacation homes.
Well, again, I think I mentioned when you start on the west side, and I'll go all the way to Pensacola. Pensacola has one of the most expensive resorts there, and it's called Portofino, and the pricing there is pretty high. But then you go a little bit further west of Portofino into the old Pensacola, you're going to find plenty of townhomes within much more reasonable price points. You head towards Navarre, the prices, your return on your investment, so to speak, is still pretty high because the cost of condos on the beach, there's less of them, so the demand is really high. But the cost of owning a 3-bedroom there is probably the cost of owning a 2-bedroom in Destin, for example. So the prices start to go up as you head east from Navarre, going through Fort Walton Beach, Okaloosa Island, full of nice, they're high density, I think, condominium buildings, and Okaloosa Island tends to get a little bit crowded as well. And as you go towards Destin, the prices start to go up, and then Destin, it's almost like they start lower on the west side, and as you go east, they start to go up. You get to Miramar Beach, the prices tend to be a little bit higher. Go to Sandestin, slightly higher. Then you go to 30A, the prices really drastically jump up in that secondary or second home market, and then it dips down again when you go into Panama City Beach. The prices right now, everybody, if you're looking for a 3-bedroom condo, I say go to Panama City Beach because that's where you can get one affordably.
Very good. Well, what might that 3-bedroom condo vacation home look like in Panama City Beach as far as price and kind of what you're getting for that?
Right. You're on the beach in Panama City Beach. You can get, like I said, a 3-bedroom for $399. You wouldn't see that. $399 over here on the beach. Majestic Sun will buy you a 1-bedroom with a bunk room in the hallway and 1.5 baths, pretty much. So, yeah, it's very different pricing in Panama. Again, when I have people that are saying, I don't mind going to Panama City Beach. Okay, great. That's a great option because you will see a better return on your investment. I have people that I sold condos to back in 2015, 16 that are now saying, you know what, I don't mind driving a little bit extra if I can get a bigger condo for the same price that I have. I have a 2-bedroom now, but for me to get a 3-bedroom and get on the beach, I'm going to have to go to Panama City Beach. And they're saying, I don't mind. Let's take a look at that. So because they're reasonably priced. I know 3-bedrooms here with a view, not even on the beach. I've seen them as high as $575.
Wow. And so all of those are going to be condos as well. I'm sure there's plenty of maintenance and upkeep with a building like that right on the beach. Mm-hmm. What do you kind of see as a typical HOA fee, or I guess it's a condo fee with a building, with a structure like this?
Right. A lot of them, It depends. So a lot of the HOAs for the condominiums, especially in the towers, they will price it based on whether you're one, a two, or a three bedroom because you're bigger or smaller, and that's how they determine the HOAs. But let's say a three bedroom, you're going to look at in some resort areas that have some amenities and things like that. You're looking at $700 a month. I've seen some well over $1,000 a month, depending on the resort for a three bedroom. Yes, and then I would say a two bedroom, you can venture about 500 in a resort. If it's just the building, the tower, it might be more in the 400s, but I don't think you can find many HOAs below 400 at any point for a month, and that's a month.
Right. Yeah. For a condo, that sounds right. I mean, you're probably around 400 for a basic building without many amenities. And then when you start adding things like maybe a gym or a swimming pool, or I've even seen some of these that have lazy rivers and all kinds of things, then that HOA starts going up.
Right. It does. The HOA does. Now, we have to keep in mind, and this is the one thing that a lot of people don't realize, the HOA also covers your insurance for the exterior of the building. So if you got hit by a storm and it takes off the roof, your HOA insurance has to cover that. Now, will that mean you might have assessments? Possibly, because you got to pay the deductible like anybody else. But so your HOA costs, you're dividing that insurance. You have liability insurance, when you have a pool, you have that many people using a pool. So people have to, you need to stop and think what it is that your HOA is collecting. They're not getting rich on it. And so certainly when you go buy a condo, you really want to look at the condo documents and ask for the budget, the HOA budget, and look at how frequently have they been in trouble, so to speak, or how frequently they increase their HOAs. A lot of HOAs have been steady for years, and that's really good. That tells you they have very good management, they manage their money, they manage the building, they take care of it, things like that. So when you buy a condo, it's very important to ask for those condominium documents.
Yes, I can imagine. Well, I think that brings up a great point when you're looking at a condo like this, or there's so much that goes into it, the ins and outs of making sure that you're making a good investment, especially when you have these HOAs and condo associations and all of that. People want to make sure that they have a good real estate agent representing them. So we may not wrap up here. We may have a little bit more to talk about, but in that vein, if someone wanted to reach out to you to talk about finding a home on the Emerald Coast, how would they reach you?
Okay, you could call me direct, 850-598-6251. And I'm usually available. I answer quickly. If I don't take the phone call, it's because I can't, but I will certainly text you within minutes and let you know how soon I can get back to you.
Okay, perfect. Well, with that, Mohit, do you have any more questions for Vicky about the Emerald Coast?
She explained them really well. She did a fantastic job explaining her market really fantastically. So I was intrigued. I was listening more. I was like, oh, let me see. I was like, maybe I want to move there now. Maybe I want to get an investment over there.
Well, it's not a bad place to invest. What I tell people is, if you're coming in and you're going to need a mortgage, don't plan on making money or out of rentals. Just know that your condominium will probably pay for itself if you get it rented 12 weeks a year during those peak seasons, which are, spring break and anywhere from Memorial Day all the way up to Labor Day. If you get 12 weeks of solid payments, you're certainly going to make your mortgage payment. So will it pay for itself? Most likely. But, rental managers charge a ton. They charge at least 20% of the rental income. So,
do you manage anything as far as condos and stuff, or are you just strictly real estate?
No, I'm strictly real estate. I think management in of itself would consume your whole day. There's just no way. I can't imagine doing both.
I bet.
Well, with that, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the Emerald Coast? Just come visit, right?
Oh, absolutely. You need to come visit the Emerald Coast. If you've never been here, people go to pay a fortune to go to the Caribbean. And I'm like, why? You pay a fortune to go to Fiji. Why? You can do that right here in the good old United States. This is like or best kept secret in the U.S. are our beaches along the Emerald Coast.
It's homegrown paradise.
Absolutely. Vicky, thank you so much for joining us today, telling us all about the Emerald Coast.
Thank you. Have a great day.
So if you would like to know more about Vicky, we're going to have her information in our description as well. If you'd like to connect with us about your move to Florida, you can reach us at movingtofloridashow@gmail.com. You can also connect with us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Moving to Florida Show. And for Twitter, our handle is at Moving to FL Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show if you like our content so that it will be automatically downloaded to your devices and get one step closer to moving to Florida.